All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick Hayakawa, Jurisdiction Support Officer with the SolarAPP Foundation. I see we have quite a lot of participants logged in already. That number keeps ticking up. More will join us as we dive in, but we do want to stay on schedule. We really appreciate you all being here to talk about how SolarAPP can accelerate permitting approvals by driving local adoption with our installer partners. So we've got a lot to cover today, but I'm going to let the SolarAPP CEO, Matthew McAllister, kick us off.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join us here and talk about this. I was at RE Plus a couple of weeks ago with a lot of you and heard a ton of great conversation about how everyone is preparing for 2026 and thinking about what we can be doing to drive down costs, post ITC and 25D for homeowners. And a lot of that, of course, ties to soft costs and how complex it can be to operate across the United States with our 20,000 unique local jurisdictions that all issue permits. SolarAPP got started as a collaboration with the solar industry years ago, and we've benefited a lot from this community support and helping us reach the scale that we have so far. We'll talk a little bit about some of the growth and where we're operating today and what's working a little bit later on in the slides. But I wanted to start today by just saying, thank you for the support that you've shown SolarAPP to date. And we're really committed to figuring out how we can best support you and best support our jurisdictions moving forward and provide the greatest value to homeowners. A lot of the value proposition that we have for jurisdictions can vary slightly between what we provide as a value for solar installers. So I think a lot of what we're trying to accomplish today is equip all of you with the talking points and tool set to be able to talk about SolarAPP with jurisdictions that are not yet on board with automated and instant permitting, and framing that in a way that gets them excited about ways that they can support their local solar market and provide solar more affordably to their residents. So thank you again for taking the time today. We really hope that this is valuable for you all. And as you meet more of our members of the team throughout this call, know that we are all a resource to help you, whether that's with support requests and helping out with individual projects, or as you're approaching these jurisdictions. Patrick's happy to hop on a call. I'm happy to hop on a call anytime and meet with anyone that you think would be good for us to talk to and figure out how we can expand automating permitting to more of the country. So thank you again, Patrick. I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. All right. So with that said, a lot to cover today. Please don't be shy on the chat. Throw your questions in as you think of them. We'll monitor that. We also have a Q&A at the end. But for now, why are we here today? Here's a look at the agenda. In about an hour, we want to cover informing all of you of how, and more importantly, why we see SolarAPP Plus growing across the United States. It's been an exciting year for us in terms of AHJ's decisions to use this tool to streamline their permitting processes. However, there's a lot more work to be done, which we'll talk about later, and specifically how you can help. We're also going to show you some new features in SolarAPP, what our product team has been up to, what our customer service team really focuses on. And the point of that is to really hopefully show you all, maybe you're all familiar with the tool and you use it every day, maybe you haven't, but we're hoping that through this conversation, you can get a refresher on what we're all about, and more importantly, be excited to use the tool yourself and to be an advocate so that it can be more widely deployed in the communities where you might be doing business. Okay. And so last but not least, we're going to talk through some specific toolkits and resources and messaging guidelines that we have found effective, to the extent all of you who are here today want to be and are comfortable being advocates for streamlining solar permitting. We have found that having local relationships, people on the ground who know and trust and have worked with that permitting staff, you all can be highly effective advocates if this is something that you choose to support. Sound good? So with that, I thought I'd launch us with a quick poll, 4 questions, just to get a temperature of the room. Mostly they're oriented towards installers. I think that's the preponderance of attendees we have today. But if you're not, just try to, please participate in the poll anyway. Give us a sense of the audience and what's on everyone's mind. So let me bring that up, and then we'll share the results with everyone as we go. All right, I just launched the poll. Maybe I'll ask Brandon or Justin, who are attendees that have talking privileges at the moment. Could Brandon or Justin, could one of you chime in and tell me if the uh, poll popped up on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah,
looks
we're good.
Excellent. All right, so folks, feel free to run through it at your own pace, but I will narrate it at the same time. As a solar installer, which best describes your experience with SolarAPP Plus? You've used it in some of your jurisdictions. Maybe it's not available in any of your jurisdictions. It's available everywhere that you work, or maybe you're completely new to SolarAPP Plus and here to learn how it can help. That's question number one. Once you finish question number one, go ahead on. People are already moving to number two. Perfect. How long does it typically take to get a residential solar permit in your main jurisdictions? 1 to 2 days, maybe a week, 2 to 3 weeks, a month, or more. Number three, how beneficial would more widespread automated instant solar permitting be for your business? Game changer. It would save us major time and cost. 86% already hitting that one. Very helpful. It would remove a lot of the frustration. Somewhat helpful, or not sure yet, need to learn more. Last but not least, as you're moving along, how prepared do you feel to talk to your local permitting office about SolarAPP Plus? Fully prepared? I've done this before. Somewhat prepared? Would like more tools and guidance? Not prepared yet. I'm here to learn how. I can already see that's about 50% of you, and that's great because that is the purpose of today's poll. So we'll give just a couple more seconds here for people to finish that up and share the results. Going once, going twice. All right, let's end that out and show folks what the audience said. Question number one, what describes your experience with SolarAPP? We have the majority hitting answer number four. I'm new to SolarAPP Plus and here to learn how it can help me. Excellent. You are in the right place. We also have some folks who are familiar with the tool. Notably, nobody said, and I think this speaks to the need, hopefully, for an event like today, nobody has said that SolarAPP is available in all the jurisdictions where they work. Number two, how long does it typically take to get a residential solar permit in your main jurisdiction? 27% of you say in 1 or 2 days. That's terrific. Maybe it's those same folks who are saying they're familiar with SolarAPP Plus. We would certainly hope that that is the case. If you're using SolarAPP Plus, you're getting it in less than 2 days. All right. Even split there across 1 week, 2 to 3 weeks, and a handful of you, I'm sorry to hear, waiting more than a month for your permits. Number three, how beneficial would it be for more widespread automated permitting for your business? 64% of you saying it would be a game changer, saving major time and cost. That's great to hear because that's what we're all about. Number four, how prepared do you feel to talk to your local permitting office about SolarAPP Plus? Majority and the not prepared yet. I'm here to learn. Our goal is in the next hour, 100% of you are saying fully prepared. Let's do this. Okay. Thanks everybody for participating in that. Let's get back to the slides. So, state of SolarAPP adoption. I thought it would first be helpful to show folks where this tool is available. Okay. And the short answer is a lot of places. We are tremendously excited about the rate and the diversity, let's say, of SolarAPP adoption. As you see on this slide, communities across the country are saying automated permitting without compromising safety or quality is something that they need and that they want. SolarAPP Plus is now live in more than 300 AHJs in 17 states. More than 50 AHJs have signed on to the tool just this year. And it shows that we think there's not just significant interest, but wide compatibility for the tool across various code years, geographies, climates, solar markets, what have you. A lot of different reasons that jurisdictions are making this choice. So that's the good news. Where's the opportunity, and hence the reason for a session like today. Just a quick check. Is the screen share working? Did I get rid of the poll results correctly? Brandon, Justin, you want to chime in?
Yep, you're good.
Make sure we're all smooth here. Okay, excellent. So there's another side to the story. Yes, we're very excited about the 300 plus jurisdictions that have chosen to adopt, but we know, and you all know, that in a nation of 20,000 jurisdictions, 300 is a drop in the bucket. Okay, so for instance, 200, give or take, of those jurisdictions using SolarAPP Plus are in the state of California, where there is laws on the books requiring the use of automated permitting. Okay. So tremendous opportunity. I'll be curious as we look at the registrants to talk to folks following up today, if you represent some of those gray permitting jurisdictions across the country where we think we can be of help. Now, by state, what we want to prepare you to do through this conversation is thinking about who in your own network should know about SolarAPP Plus, what jurisdictions, maybe you work in multiple states, your company works in multiple states. Point of this slide is to show you, while as we showed 2 slides back, we are compatible and viable in a wide number of areas. There's a couple states where there are state level initiatives or considerations to expand automated permitting. So the point of this slide is if you live in California or Maryland and you know of some jurisdictions that are not currently using SolarAPP Plus or an automated plan review tool, you could perhaps help them get in compliance with those laws by taking some of the actions that we're going to talk about at the end of the webinar in terms of connecting them to us or advocating on behalf of automated permitting. If you live or work in the states on the right, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Colorado, there's an opportunity that AHJ connections there could be really high leverage in the sense of helping us show the local demand, validate the feasibility as policymakers and leaders in those states look to expand systems like ours or similar systems at scale. Okay. Why are AHJs saying yes to SolarAPP Plus? Okay. There are lots of reasons that the installer community get excited about automated plan review. There's lots of reasons that the AHJ community get excited about it. One of the points we want to make in this slide is that those reasons are not always the same, and that's okay. They don't have to be, okay? So generally speaking, the order of reasons you see here, efficiency, consistency, safety, cost savings, I would say efficiency and consistency generally are reasons most favored by the installer community. Of course, I'm talking in generalizations. When it comes to AHJ adoption, they tend to be very interested in stronger code compliance. They are very interested in lowering the staff workload, cutting back on the errors, either at submission, failures in the field, the differences that sometimes we see between what's drawn up and what's submitted versus what ends up being inspected, right? So my point is there's a lot of overlap and there's reasons that SolarAPP and streamlined permitting we think is a win-win-win for the installers, for the jurisdictions, and for the consumers. And these are some of the reasons that you see, okay? But don't take our word for it. I think it's important if we're going to ask you, as we will later in the presentation, to think about how you can use your voice and advocate for SolarAPP to know that this is something that they genuinely want once they understand what automated plan review is and how it can be deployed at no cost, very light lift in terms of technical adoption, usually takes a couple business days, can be done as little as a week in some jurisdictions to adopt SolarAPP, and that they can do so without changing how they do plan review or specifically what codes and standards they are reviewing for. So in the words of Kim Norman Rosdom at town of Guilford, Guilford, Connecticut, easier, safer, and quicker for solar projects to be approved while also benefiting the contractors and the homeowners at the same time. We've been really excited about the interest and uptake in automation there in Connecticut this quarter. Houston, Texas. Originally, if you look at the time frame, we took about 9 days to get a solar plan through our system. Once we implemented SolarAPP Plus, we went from 9 days down to 1 day. So that was a tremendous value for the contractors and also the homeowners. Last but not least, Harrisonburg, Virginia. There is no downside. It doesn't cost the jurisdictions anything, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of time to set it up. So the value that you get from the system is very helpful. That was Nirma Sofal, office manager there in Harrisonburg. All right, so that's a little bit of a trajectory of where we've been, where we're going in terms of AHA adoption and why jurisdictions are choosing to adopt. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Brandon Carlson, who will talk a little bit about how SolarAPP makes life easier for installers, and in particular, some of the new features and services we are excited about this year. I will say, though, before we kick it to Brandon, he's going to hit some high-level themes. Today's session is not a full-fledged demo of the tool. If people want that, or if there are AHJs on the phone that want, or on the call, excuse me, that want that, we have other links. You can email us and we'll get you that. So we're going to talk a little bit about how the tool is built to benefit installers and keep their concerns top of mind, but not a full-fledged demo today. I do know from the poll there's a few folks who are completely new to SolarAPP. So if you feel like you need that sort of that primer on at a more fundamental level of what the tool does and how it works, we're happy to provide that separately as well. So Brandon, can you hear us? Or more
Yes, I
importantly, can we hear you?
Yeah, you
All
can
right.
hear me. I think that's the important part.
All right. Take it away.
Yeah, so my name's Brandon Carlson. I've been in the solar and energy storage industry now for about 25 years. I'm based out of Southern California. I am an electrical contractor by trade, work for a few manufacturers, and am an E5 electrical inspector through the ICC. I really want to nerd out on this and talk tech because that's what I do, but I will keep it very high level, as Patrick mentioned there. So the important thing to understand is when SolarAPP first came on the scene, it was designed by engineers for engineers, which is great, and all the foundation is there. We are now focusing on making it more user-friendly and better for both inspectors in the field and contractors with their staff submitting. So that involves cleaner, easier interface for permitting applications, streamlined steps to reduce errors and save time, and ongoing upgrades based on installer and AHJ feedback. That last one's a really big one. We are constantly, daily speaking with inspectors, building officials, engineers, anyone from the contractor. So if you ever have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. Not just if you're the contractor, if you're a designer, if you're an installer, if you're project manager, if you're a permit tech, we love to hear it. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Patrick. So recently, our customer support team launched SolarAPP Assist. It's only been out now for about a month and a half. Some of you may have utilized it a little bit, but essentially it's a live virtual one-on-one support session with one of our team members. Think back to 10 plus years ago where you could go to the permit counter, have a conversation between you as an installer and an inspector that would go to your project and just brainstorm there at the counter, talk about, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Let's find a common sense solution. That's the point of this. It's to get you in front of one of our staff members that can walk you not just through your project and how to put it into the application, but also answer some basic questions you have on, hey, I'm using a new piece of equipment. It's on the CEC list. We've used I'll give an example, Enphase 5C for a long time, the combiner box. We're moving to the 6C. I know we're using the meter collar. What does that look like? And we can have that conversation with you. Right now, we're doing about 8 a day. So feel free to take some time to look into it. You can find it not just through our resources, but also at the top of your application, you'll see a banner just says sign in here to set up a time. And they will be able to go through your draft, help you follow up with those key inputs to get your questions answered. And our goal is really to get your project moving forward so that you can focus your time installing in the field. You want to go to the next slide, Patrick?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Before we hop over to Justin,
yep.
We'll say what really separates our team from others in the industry is we have so much experience. At least 2 of our staff members worked on the Solar Permitting Guidebook, for those of you that are familiar with it, also the Energy Storage Guidebook out of California. I myself, like I mentioned, am an electrical contractor and electrical inspector. Almost everyone that's part of our customer support team worked for a contractor for a period of years. So we have a lot of expertise when we talk back and forth. That also brings, since a lot of us have been in the industry for so long, we have a lot of resources and networking where we can reach out to a manufacturer directly, have a conversation with one of their chief engineers and say, hey, this is what we have in our database currently. We know that some new stuff's coming down the pipeline. Let's have a conversation now and get that going. Or if a question does come up between an inspector and a contractor, let's figure that out with the manufacturer on that email chain. So with that, I'll turn it over to Justin, and I'm here for any questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. And before I turn it over to Justin, I'll remind folks we do have the Q&A going. So if you think of questions as we're going, type them in there. Thank you, Brandon. Next, we're going to introduce Justin Slusarski, also part of the SolarAPP Foundation team. And in particular, Justin is one of our jurisdiction outreach leads. So that means that Justin, along with some others on our team, really spend their whole time talking to as many AHJs as possible, understanding their permitting goals, making sure they understand what SolarAPP is all about, the benefits of automating plan review. And what Justin's going to share with you is some of the things we've learned about what is effective, what is not effective in terms of how to communicate with jurisdictions about this tool, and also hopefully empower you with some ways to maybe you could even do that better than us. So as Matthew alluded to, this is an exciting time. We're coming off, we met a lot of you at RE Plus. It's also a really pivotal time, right, for the solar industry and for consumers who want to maximize all of their renewable energy options. So we think this is a unique time where permitting staff and policymakers at the local level are receptive to some of these solutions. They are looking for these solutions. It's also true sometimes that if Justin or I email or call a building official, let's say, out of the blue, they might not have heard of SolarAPP. And if they haven't heard of SolarAPP, they might not understand that we are really a free service and consider ourselves a public service, partnering with them to make their jobs easier. We're not salespeople trying to, sell them software or get them to write a check. We're trying to offer them a tool that really your tax dollars and their tax dollars have already paid for through the development years back through the U.S. Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Lab, where SolarAPP was developed. It's now maintained and operated by our independent nonprofit. So the point there, though, is that sometimes the most valuable and pivotal moment in a jurisdiction's decision on whether or not to adopt automated plan review is in that initial ask, that initial introduction of how we make a contact and help them understand what this tool can do for them and what we're really asking of them, which is simply usually 20 to 30 minutes to assess their current permitting processes, what code years they're on, and really we can knock out in 20 to 30 minutes if they're compatible with SolarAPP and if they would like to perhaps do a pilot, if they maybe know or have heard of a lot of neighbors in their jurisdiction who are already using it and they want to level up and bring it into their processes as well. So what Justin's going to talk about is why we think your voice matters, why it's uniquely positioned to help us, build some of those relationships, and then some tools we can put in your hand to make that communication even easier for you. Take it away, Justin. Can you hear us?
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Excellent.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Patrick.
Justin. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. And yeah, just echoing on what Brandon said with our experience in the industry. I've have about 10 years experience in the solar industry on the developer side of things, helped get some community solar projects off the ground in the early days. So very familiar with the solar coaster, the ups and downs of the industry and relate to you on a day-to-day basis there. So, but cool. Yeah. Welcome. I'm Justin. I am the outreach lead here at SolarAPP Plus. Today, I'm going to share some best practices on how to engage building officials. Now, this is mostly pulled from our experience talking with them every day and hearing what resonates with them, what they like, what they don't like. But I just want to also start by saying that you are the real experts here. This is not meant to be the source of absolute truth. you know what's best, and you have the relationships with the officials in your jurisdictions that you work in every day. So trust your gut and your own instincts there. And with that, let's kick things off. And the best place to start is why we're all here today, and especially why your voice matters. So, as installers, you are the front lines of solar. You see firsthand what permitting delays can mean: crews waiting around, frustrated homeowners, projects getting pushed back, and those delays don't just affect your business, they ripple across the entire industry and the community. So, the reality is, local governments, the AHJs, are most influenced by the local voices. They want to hear directly from the people they serve who are working in their jurisdiction every day to help them make more informed decisions. So when you speak up, it carries a lot more weight than anything coming from us here at Solar App Plus. Um, so one thing to note there is when you speak up, you're not just complaining about delays, you're showcasing your leadership. You're saying, we care about the same things that you care about: safety and quality. We want to see accountability in this industry and help the good players get ahead and keep the bad players out. So we keep basically just relating to their day-to-day challenges at the building departments. We care about keeping our community safe and ready for the future. So, all that being said, it's super powerful coming from you, and it positions you not just as contractors, but as trusted partners in your city. So, now, and next slide here, now we know why your voice matters so much. The next
Oh, sorry,
question.
Justin, you want me on Advocacy Playbook, or you want me on
Yep,
Your Voice Matter?
yep, that's
Advocacy
right.
Playbook? Okay, thanks.
Yep. So now we know why your voice matters so much. Here, how do you actually use it? That's where the advocacy playbook comes in. And here's what it looks like. So we boiled it down to 5 steps. Number one, identifying the right decision makers, most likely the people you're working with on a day-to-day basis already: building officials, plan review managers, development services directors. These are the people that can influence if a new approach like SolarAPP Plus can get traction and be adopted for their jurisdiction. Once you've identified the key decision makers there, the next thing is to share some social proof. So, any other nearby jurisdictions that you're working with that use SolarApp Plus, hearing that their peers are using it and making it work carries a lot of weight and just creates a natural state of curiosity that doesn't feel like it's being pushed on them or sold to them. And it's just something for them to learn to see what others are doing that are similar to them.
And Justin,
Step
real quick on that, sorry to interrupt your flow, but I want the audience to know we have publicly available on the site. They can find a list of all the jurisdictions where Solar App is available, and we'll be sharing that out as part of the after meeting materials, to your point about um, folks are often very interested in where it's available. And if they see a neighbor or a neighboring jurisdiction, that can be a great indicator that that might be something they want to look at.
Absolutely. So we'll have several resources to share out with you. That's one of them here. We'll also go over the messaging anchor guidelines here in a second, um, and then just wrapping up the sort of final steps here. So offer help and references. You want to position yourself as a resource to the jurisdiction. Sometimes it's as simple as saying other installers and I are happy to share experience or pilot Solar App Plus for you if it helps with your evaluation process. And then lastly, as Patrick mentioned, we'll be sharing a Solar App Plus toolkit with you that you can use in your outreach to the jurisdictions. So, and Patrick, if you want to click here, let's take a look at the messaging anchors that can help gear you up in conversations with local officials. So there are mainly 4 anchors. So number one, safety and quality. We all know that is a building officials and building departments' number one priority is safety for the community. So you can quote things like saying Solar App Plus is catching incomplete plans up front, so staff are it's not wasting time chasing corrections. It's reducing installation failures out in the field and improving overall quality and workmanship of those projects. Number two is the industry accountability. So we want to all work together. Only licensed, insured contractors are able to submit through Solar App Plus. Helping to filter out some of the bad players and protecting consumer safety in markets where solar is especially hot and there's a lot of contractors. That's a common concern we hear in those states. Like Texas comes to mind there. It's what Solar App Plus is doing is it's providing real-time error messages for any non-code compliant projects, and then Brandon and his team are answering the phone calls from contractors that have questions. So it's helping again, to just keep the industry more educated, keep it more accountable. Next one here is your future readiness. So we all know solar is a hot energy source. It's, constantly, we're on the solar coaster, but it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Even with the ITC phasing down, we see this as a more important time now than ever before to help keep ahead and show residents in those jurisdictions that they are doing something to be proactive. It's helping maintain steady permit volume in solar and maintaining some of those permit revenue sources as well. Last thing here, efficiency. As we all know, SolarAPP is super fast. We try to avoid to lead with that in our initial conversations with building officials, but it is definitely something that is a main benefit for overworked staff. It's helping reduce staff time on plan review, any back and forth with contractors for the most basic residential solar projects. So that is the messaging anchors. When you approach it this way, we find it's not just making your own job easier, but it's helping local government improve the overall safety, accountability, and efficiency for the whole industry and community. So now back to Patrick to wrap things up and go
Thanks, Justin.
over what to expect next.
Cool. Yeah, and just to hit a little more detail too on Justin's last point about efficiency is a really good one. I think of that sort of manifesting in two ways lately that are being um, effective and leading to some really good conversations with AHJs. One is, as I think I shared on a slide earlier, in a handful of states, there are state level or regional initiatives to reduce red tape and speed approval timelines and lower soft costs so residents have more energy choice. That's happening in places like Texas, in Florida, in Maryland, in California, in Colorado. So if you're interested in that or you work or live in one of those states, you want to talk in more detail about what's going on there. So efficiency in the sense that the locales are now responding to that high state level leadership and saying, okay, there's a free tool that we can deploy to do that. Great, then they will do so. Second way, sort of more fundamentally on efficiency is, and Justin hit it, but it's one that we hear a lot, is staff workload. Staff are constantly being asked to do more with less, right? Maybe flat or shrinking budgets, population growth. So SolarAPP is simply a tool that can take work off their plate, automate plan reviews for 70 to 80% of their most basic and common residential rooftop solar systems, and free up their staff time to do more advanced and complex work. I think the important point when Justin is talking about these messaging anchors, and I referenced it earlier, but I just want to be really clear, is these are the anchors that we think are most effective from the AHJ's point of view, given their core considerations. A way of outreach that would ignore these messaging anchors and we find not effective would to be email a building official and say something like, faster, faster, faster. Use SolarAPP. It's faster, right? That might be great for the residents, right? It might be great for the installers, but we all have to remember the permitting staff and the building officials, their core legal accountability is code compliance and quality of workmanship in the field and community safety. So inherently, if we speak too much about speed or too much about efficiency without explaining what we mean, there are many building officials, if they haven't been fully prepped, and this is our job to do that, that will conflate speed and efficiency. Well, you must be cutting corners somewhere. And in my business, when we cut corners, we get in trouble. So we want to be really intentional about our messaging, that they understand that that's not what SolarAPP is built to do. What SolarAPP is built to do is to take their local systems and processes, take their local way of reviewing and their core codes, and bring automation to them, right? So you can have the best of both worlds of ensuring that that process, improve customer service, and not cut corners when it comes to your code compliance. And we have a lot of data to back that up. We're happy to have those conversations. We don't really see that as your job as the installer advocates to get too in the weeds about specific merits or data for SolarAPP. Again, we think your strongest point of leverage is simply raising this to their inbox, making that phone call, and making them aware that there's this free validated tool that many jurisdictions are using. And as Justin referenced, with the loss of some of those ITC tax credits, we know some of them are going to carry forward to 2027. Loss of Solar for All funding, a lot of states are not happy about and responding to. SolarAPP Plus is, we're not saying we're the only one, but we are one proven and quick to deploy tool for any community that wants to support investments in renewable and improve pathways for streamlining permitting. Okay. So with that, here comes the fun part and what we hope we can equip all of you today to do. And that is a bit of a challenge if you're all up for it. And we know we're not going to knock this all out in one webinar. If this is helpful resources and a helpful dialogue, we might continue to do these. We could even organize groups. We could organize committees. We could have regional focus groups. If you all really do like this tool and like being a part of the equation for faster and more broad adoption, we would love your feedback. This idea came, I think, as Matthew said, as we were leading up to RE Plus, we realized all the conversations, we realized the energy in the installer community. We said, how do we support that? How do we continue to partner with all of you? So this is the first step, but not going to be the only step. So here's what we're going to do within the next 24 hours at the close of this webinar. We are going to send you an email outreach template. Okay, as Justin said, you don't have to just copy and paste. If you have your own reasons, your own wording, your own relationships, but we're trying to give you an easy tool that you can basically copy and paste, put into your inbox, and then send it to 1, 2, 3, as many jurisdiction officials as you think appropriate. Again, if you believe in this tool and want to help advocate for adoption. We're also going to include in that an easy scheduling link, and that's for the AHJ staff, where you would say something like, hey, if you're interested in learning more about SolarAPP, schedule one-on-one time with their people right here. Click, and that'll put time on my calendar, on Justin's calendar, or another member of the SolarAPP staff, which again, we can go in from that consultative point of view, understand what are their permanent goals, what's their current processes, and is this tool potentially a fit for them. We're also going to share with you an explainer PDF. This is for the permitting official audience, explaining what are the benefits of a tool like SolarAPP in terms of their goals and responsibilities. You'll also get a PDF messaging guide, very similar, but a little more detail of some of the points Justin made of how we like to talk about this tool and what we see the main benefits are for it. Last but not least, you will get this slide deck and a recording of the webinar, which you can watch later, compare back to, share with your colleagues, use it however is most helpful to you. So that's what we're going to give you. Our ask is help us spread the good news, right? Again, if this is a tool that you believe in and understand, maybe you're not quite ready to make phone calls or send emails right out of this webinar and you have more questions. That's great too. I'll put my email up on the last slide. You can contact us, set up more time. If you want to talk more about regional focus or outreach strategy, we'd love to share as much as we can. Let us know though, that is our ask. If you send an email or make a phone call to a jurisdiction, let us know. We're going to start tracking that activity. We want to celebrate wins with you. We're very excited to have opportunities to share those wins in our newsletter, either celebrating a good partnership with all of you or conversion of a new jurisdiction that had not been doing automated plan review and now, thanks to our efforts here, are doing it. So we can include in that maybe some other ways to celebrate our wins, thank yous, and other surprises that that we have in the works here. Okay, so with that, I'm going to put my contact information on the screen. Again, I'm Patrick Hayakawa, Jurisdiction Support Officer with the SolarAPP Foundation. And now that's about it for the preset agenda portion of this. Now we can have an open conversation or questions about what is on the mind of folks in the audience. So let's take a minute and check the Q&A. Here's an anonymous attendee says, how does the app actually work? Do we still need to submit anything to the city portal? I see Matthew is typing an answer. How about we tag team that, Matthew, if you want to type, but I can also speak to it here, which is anonymous attendee. The way the app works is we put the first pass of the permit application in the hands of the licensed installer. So let's say you're trying to do a project in Houston, Texas. I'll use an example because we know they're using it. We just had their testimonial up. You would go to the city, right? And they will have a landing page that says, good news, City of Houston now accepts SolarAPP applications, which really think of like a self-guided or a DIY permit application. And they'll have a hyperlink. Well, first they'll have eligibility requirements. They'll talk about, we accept SolarAPP permit types for these types of solar systems, which we can talk about. And then they'll direct you to our webpage, GoSolarAPP.org. Okay. So from there, you would create an account if you don't have one already. And then as you do, your account would be reviewed by our team, reviewing your licenses, insurance coverage, say, oh, this person is indeed licensed to do work in Houston, Texas. And from there, we would authenticate your account and you'd be able to start a permit application. Then you would work through about 50 questions about your plan design, structural, fire, electrical. And in real time, the system would be giving you feedback about whether you have a code compliant project based on the codes that we've configured to Houston's requirements. Okay. So typically, if you're an experienced SolarAPP user, you can run through those in about 30 minutes. If you have trouble at any point, as Brandon said, our customer support team is there to make sure you understand what SolarAPP is prompting you for. And in real time, the system is going to give you feedback and either say, that entry doesn't really make sense or work, or if it's code compliant, proceed to, and here's the real upshot, an instant approval and permit issuance for your project. So in theory, you could be working on a permit application at, Sunday evening, 9 o'clock after hours, get approval through SolarAPP and be ready to be at the job site, right? So no, we do not require single line diagrams. Through our questions, we would absorb and then transmit to the jurisdiction and to the inspection team all the information that would be included in that single line diagram. So I just want to make sure I hit question number one. Do you still need to submit anything to the city portal? The answer is it depends on what version of SolarAPP the jurisdiction has deployed. Many jurisdictions use what we call the with GovTech, which means you get your approval through SolarAPP, our website, and then yes, you upload those approval documents through the city portal and pay your permitting fees there. So all you would need, in most cases, jurisdictions can add other requirements in some cases, but typically you would have our approval, you would upload to the city, but you would from there, you would be getting your job card. You wouldn't be waiting for further approval. So you would still upload it and submit it for their records, but you wouldn't be waiting on approval is how the system is designed to work. Hence instant issuance.
Patrick, while we're seeing if any other questions come in, I'll just reiterate what we said at the top of the call, which is we are a resource and a partner in all of this work. So as you're having conversations with jurisdiction officials, if you feel like there's a warm lead or you're really friendly with a local city where you work, please feel free to pull us in at any point. Justin, Patrick, myself, other members of the team are all happy to join these calls and help explain what SolarAPP is to any jurisdiction partners that you have. Talk through the value statement, give demonstrations, all of that stuff. So we want to equip you with all the resources that Patrick put up on the slide earlier, and we're sending those out after this call. But we're also available, in the coming weeks and months to be helpful in those conversations directly as well.
Thanks, Matthew. That's a good point too, is the toolkit we're going to send you. We are envisioning, we're trying to, for those folks who want to do outreach on our behalf directly, that's fantastic. You don't have to do it that way. If you just prefer to say, hey, Patrick, here's a jurisdiction I work in. Have you spoken to them? Or, hey, give a look at this jurisdiction. We can handle that outreach, especially if you want to give us the contacts, and we can say, if you want to say so-and-so recommended that we contact you, we're fine to take on that work too. We do have a whole team. I should have maybe teed this up more clearly. We have a whole team in operation dedicated to outreach. We're not able to be totally nationwide everywhere all the time. We have to be a little strategic about where we think we can make the most impact and where there's the most permit volume and the most demand. But we see all of you as great advocates and extensions of that work to the extent that you want to be. So you can either kind of DIY and make phone calls and emails, and we want to empower you to do that. Or you can drop a line to me, Justin, Matthew, anyone on the SolarAPP team with your suggestions. And I see Brandon typed out a full response on the SLD question, and just taking a look here for any other activity in the chat.
Yeah, that was meant for a very specific question that was asked above. I hit comment under them, and the app didn't like that, so I dropped in for everyone to see there. I think it duplicated.
Excellent. Any other questions from the group? Well, if you think of others, drop us a line. But other than that, you can expect more materials coming your way in the next day or two. So thanks for your time, everyone. Really appreciate you making time for us and being part of the discussion. Oh, we do have a question here from Kale. Take your time, Kale. We always need to leave time for, you never know who's typing away. Here, how about this, Kale? I'll make it even faster, which is, where's
I beat
Kale?
you to it, Patrick.
You did you give him voice permissions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kale.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Just a second here. Yeah, so I'm in Oregon. Matthew, we talked at length at RE Plus, and I'm trying to drive the adoption here in Oregon. It's difficult because there are specialty codes in Oregon that don't align on the NEC codes and things like that. And also, I think there's some fintech issues. I'm really just wanting to learn or hear a good story about a local jurisdiction in which there were challenges in the fintech or the code, where sort of a grassroots organization push really worked out, where essentially conditions aligned to make it possible. It would be nice to hear that story.
And just, Kale, just make sure I understand the question. You said examples of a jurisdiction where grassroots or community efforts were helpful in getting that jurisdiction to decide to adopt. That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I just want to hear a story about some jurisdiction that comes to mind where, perhaps there were technical issues, but it was still enough to make a push forward. Because, if I have to go change the electrical code in Oregon, it's like changing the Constitution. And I just don't know how possible that's going to be. And therefore, I would like a glimpse into the future, into like a
where it's
the
possible.
blue sky.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one thing first. There is a difference between what we've been talking about from purposes of most of this conversation is what I've been imagining is situations where there are not actual code compatibility blockers. The biggest obstacle in most cases to SolarAPP adoption is just the permitting staff knowing about it and deciding that they want to do it. So most of our discussion has been about empowering folks like you in those situations where the staff doesn't know about it, but it is from a technical sense feasible to deploy. The main blocker usually in that situation is many permitting staff don't feel like they have a problem, right? And therefore, if you present SolarAPP in the wrong way, they can hear it as, oh, you're telling us that we're not good at our job, right? And we don't feel that's the case at all. We actually don't think SolarAPP is a tool for building or AHJs with a permitting problem. Sometimes it's deployed by the most cutting edge and sophisticated and customer oriented jurisdictions, the most technically savvy. So I just want to make that clear. It doesn't necessarily follow, even though sometimes staff will be on their heels if it's not presented the right way. They say, oh, you think we should use SolarAPP because we don't know how to do our job. Nobody is saying that. We're actually saying you're darn good at your job. Here's a way that we think we could make your life even easier and free up your expertise to work on those most complex project types. Okay, so you're also though asking about a specific case in Oregon where there is, as I understand, a state code that has fairly specific requirements, which we're still in the process of vetting how SolarAPP could or should best address those. So I'm sorry, I don't have a great answer for that now, but to give an answer to your question of where has advocacy helped, it's absolutely helped in places like Maryland, where there is a state requirement for automation. I don't know if they're on the call, but MEA has been a fantastic partner, educating and funding jurisdictions to the transition to permitting automation. The local Sierra Club has been great, mobilizing residents who say, hey, I believe in renewable energy. I believe in reducing red tape. And in one case, a member, just a resident of a county, one of the largest counties in the state, facilitated a meeting with SolarAPP and the permitting, senior permitting staff. That is certainly a meeting that we didn't have that relationship or necessarily would have gotten it so quickly. So grassroots mobilization absolutely can help. There's countless other examples in California and other states. But the code, the Oregon code one is probably one we would love your perspective on. We should probably roll up our sleeves in another call and see where we stand and what we can do together would be my sense. Matthew, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about like two other quick things here. One is a point of confusion that comes up a fair bit when we're initially talking to jurisdictions is around our name. So SolarAPP, a lot of jurisdictions, when you first start talking to them, are going to think that it's an app like an iPhone app that you download onto your phone or something like that. And the APP actually stands for automated permit processing. So I think that's a useful thing to anchor on and remind folks of too, and is just like a challenge that we face when we're talking about what is SolarAPP and you know, why we're talking about it in that sense. So that would be one thing that I would also add and note for conversations that you go into. And then the last thing I was just going to jump on was the most recent question that came into the Q&A, which is, you know, what's the impact of SolarAPP with the ITC going away? And I think, you know, Patrick and Justin, you both were covering this a bit earlier, but in broad strokes, what we're seeing is a real eagerness and openness from jurisdictions across the country to figure out what levers do they have available to them locally that help retain a competitive solar market for their residents. And so with tax credits going away, there's really very few things like a mayor or a city council member can do if they disagree with that federal policy change and want to retain a benefit for local residents. But one of the things that is within their control is how do we streamline business operations for the local installers in our marketplace and make us as competitive of a jurisdiction to offer solar for our residents that we can. So we've seen a lot of outreach from states in the Northeast, a lot of Colorado jurisdictions, with the governor there issuing an executive order. I think Arizona's following suit. So there's a lot of things happening at the city, county, state level focused on what can we do to streamline operations to retain a strong solar market. So that'd be my other just framing there.
And I would add to that, Matthew, I think no one is probably better equipped to speak to some of those potential impacts and the implications for SolarAPP than some of the folks on this call. Justin referenced it, meaning we have our own talking points and history of what's effective. You have your own lived experience. So for example, we know the local jurisdictions generally are and should be concerned about their local small businesses. They should be concerned about the economic development impacts of various policies. So if you feel, you say, hey, this wide variance of permitting processes or wide variance of permitting timelines in your state, that's causing me a headache. We might not be able to compete. We're not able to offer our customers the best prices. We might not be able to maintain operations in this state. Unfortunately, we've heard that of happening. We've heard of installers having to pull out of various states. That's a message that if you feel that and want to speak to that, could resonate with policy decision makers and specific permitting staff. Because again, that's a way that highlights for the permitting staff, hey, we're not necessarily that you're the problem there in jurisdiction X. What we often see is just as often or more often is not that one jurisdiction is the problem. It's that there are 12 permitting jurisdictions in a 10-mile radius. Each one has a different process. Each one has a different portal. And it's particularly for independent installers or small businesses, really all installers. It's just managing that patchwork of systems that in and of itself is the barrier. So if there's a way to say, hey, we support permitting standardization through a system like SolarAPP, we think there's compound benefits in it. We have the most utilization, not just when you have one jurisdiction using it, but neighboring jurisdictions clustering. And that's the biggest impact, we think, for the installer community and for lowering soft costs for consumers. So all that's to say is, I think with ITC going away, it makes that challenge even more pressing. And if that's a message that you believe in, that could be one that that you transmit to decision makers. And last point there, Justin touched on this, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear. There are a lot of stakeholders in this work that we do. Often, for example, elected officials, mayors, legislators call us and say, can you help our jurisdiction? Can you give me more information? Often sustainability managers, right, who have a climate initiative, for instance, they'll want to talk. We've talked a lot, though, about the permitting staff and the building officials, because while often there's a lot of stakeholders involved in the conversation, that's healthy, that's good, because this affects a lot of different constituencies and has a lot of benefits. We spend a lot of time thinking about the building official role because they are ultimately one of the key decision makers. Without their sign off from that code compliance and safety and quality control perspective, it will be impossible just on the way that our work is structured, that we want to be a partner with the AHA. We're asking them to entrust us with their plan review, that without their partnership, the conversation is almost never successful. So that's why. Yeah. Will you pay the Sierra Club fees to get them aligned with my jurisdiction? Is there like a 5-step approach to involving them? We've had great partners, definitely a road we can go down. We've had great partnerships with the Sierra Club. I don't know the Oregon Sierra Club. We should have that conversation. They've never asked us to pay them. Usually they like this on their own merits and their members want it, but that's definitely a pathway that we should look at. Last call on questions. I see we're at the 1 minute mark. These have been great questions. All right, with that, we will call it a day. Thanks, everybody. Drop us a line if you think of more. Let us know how we can help. We really appreciate